Jake never thought his life would change because of a stupid accident with his flying bike. One minute he was racing through the neon-lit streets of New Tokyo, feeling the wind rush past his helmet. The next minute, he was lying in a hospital bed with a broken leg, 3 cracked ribs, and a head injury that made everything feel fuzzy. The year was 2157, and the world had changed a lot. Flying cars buzzed outside his hospital window, and robots delivered food to patients. But the strangest thing wasn't the technology. It was the fact that aliens now worked alongside humans. In almost every job you could think of, Jake had heard about this. Of course, everyone knew that after the Great Contact in 2145, beings from other planets had come to Earth looking for work and new experiences. Most people were cool with it by now, but Jake had never actually met an alien before. His job as a computer programmer kept him behind a desk most days, and his neighborhood was still mostly human. So when Dr. Peterson walked into his room on that first morning and said, "Jake, I have some news about your care team," he had no idea what was coming. "We're a bit short on human nurses right now," Dr. Peterson explained. Checking his digital tablet, "The space flu outbreak has knocked out half our staff. But don't worry, we have someone excellent to take care of you." Jake nodded, not really paying attention. He was more worried about how he was going to pay his rent if he couldn't work for the next few weeks. Then she walked in. Jake's mouth fell open. He had seen aliens on TV before, but never in person. Zara was tall, maybe 6 feet, with skin that had a soft blue tint like morning sky. Her hair was silver and seemed to catch the light in ways that human hair never did. Her eyes were a bit larger than human eyes, a deep purple color that reminded Jake of the ocean at sunset. But the most surprising thing wasn't how different she looked, it was how normal she seemed. "Good morning, Jake," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality that made his name sound like a song. "I am Zara, and I will be your primary care nurse during your recovery." She moved around his room with smooth, practiced motions, checking the machines that monitored his heartbeat and breathing. Her hands were gentle when she checked his bandages, and she explained everything she was doing in simple terms. "Your leg is healing well," she said, making notes on her tablet. "The bone fusion treatment is working faster than expected. You should be walking again in about 3 weeks instead of 6. Jake found his voice. "You're from space," he said. Then immediately felt stupid for stating the obvious. Zara smiled, and Jake noticed her teeth were perfectly white and slightly pointed. "I am from Centauri Prime. Yes, it is quite far from here. About 4.5 light years. To be exact. What's it like there?" "Very different from Earth. We have 3 moons, and the sky is usually purple. The gravity is lighter, so everything feels like it floats a little." Her eyes got a distant look. "I miss it sometimes, but Earth has been good to me. I have learned much about human medicine here." Over the next few days, Jake found himself looking forward to Zara's visits. She came by every few hours to check on him, give him medicine, and help him with physical therapy exercises. She was incredibly smart, knowing things about healing that amazed even the human doctors. But she was also kind. When Jake complained about the terrible hospital food, she started bringing him fruits from the alien market downtown. They had strange names like purple starfruit and golden moon berries, but they tasted incredible. "These help humans heal faster," she explained one day, peeling something that looked like a spiky orange ball. "My people have been using them for medicine for thousands of years." Jake bit into the fruit and felt energy flow through his body immediately. "This is amazing. Why don't more people know about these? Many humans are still nervous about alien food." Zara said sadly, "They think it might be dangerous, but I have been studying human biology for 5 years. I know what is safe." As the days passed, Jake started to realize that Zara was different from the other hospital staff in more ways than just being an alien. She stayed longer during her visits, often sitting in the chair next to his bed and talking about her home planet, or asking questions about human culture. Why do humans enjoy watching other humans pretend to be different people on screens? She asked one afternoon, Pointing at the TV where a romance movie was playing, Jake laughed. "You mean movies? I guess it's fun to see stories about lives different from our own. Don't your people tell stories? We do. But we tell them with our minds, sharing images and feelings directly. Your way seems more complicated, maybe. But it's also more fun when you don't know what's going to happen next." Zara tilted her head. Considering this, surprise is entertainment. Interesting. Jake found himself sharing things with Zara that he had never told anyone. About his dreams of traveling to other planets someday. About how lonely he sometimes felt working alone all day. About his fear that he would never find someone who understood him. "Understanding is rare," Zara said softly. "Even among my own people, I often felt different, too curious about other worlds, too interested in helping others instead of focusing on traditional Centauri pursuits." "What are traditional Centauri pursuits?" Zara's cheeks turned a darker shade of blue. "Family, finding a mate, having children, building a home in the crystal caves of our mountains. I chose medicine instead." Jake wanted to ask more, but something in her expression told him this was a sensitive topic. By the end of his second week in the hospital, Jake had to admit something to himself that he had been trying to ignore. He was developing feelings for his alien nurse, not just because she was exotic or different, but because she was genuinely the most interesting and caring person he had ever met. But he kept these feelings to himself. Zara was a professional, and he was her patient. Besides, what could a human and an alien possibly have in common in the long run? He had no idea that his quiet, controlled life was about to become very complicated. On the morning that would change everything, Jake woke up feeling better than he had since the accident. His leg was almost fully healed, and the doctors had said he could probably go home in a few days. He was looking forward to seeing Zara and maybe asking her if she would like to stay in touch. After he left the hospital, maybe they could be friends. At least Dot, but when his room door opened and Zara walked in, Jake's brain completely stopped working. Her skin, which had been a soft blue for weeks, was now a brilliant purple that seemed to glow in the morning light. Her silver hair had turned into something that looked like liquid starlight, shifting and shimmering with every movement, and there was a sweet smell in the air, like flowers and vanilla and something else he couldn't identify, but that made his head spin. "Good morning, Jake," she said, but her voice was different too, deeper, more musical, and it sent shivers down his spine. She approached his bed to check his vital signs, like she did every morning, but her hands were shaking as she reached for the medical scanner. "Zara," Jake said carefully, "are you okay? You look different." Her large purple eyes met his, and he saw something there he had never seen before: panic. "I am experiencing some biological changes," she said, her voice tight with what sounded like embarrassment. "Nothing that will affect your care, I assure you." But as she tried to take his pulse, the scanner slipped from her trembling fingers and clattered to the floor. Jake had never seen the always composed and professional Zara make a clumsy mistake. Something was definitely wrong, and from the way she was looking at him, with an intensity that made his heart race. Jake had the strange feeling that whatever was happening to Zara was somehow connected to him. He had no idea how right he was or how complicated his life was about to become. Jake stared at Zara as she bent down to pick up the drop scanner. Her movements were different now, more fluid but also more nervous. The sweet smell coming from her was getting stronger, and it was making his thoughts fuzzy. "Zara, seriously, what's happening to you?" he asked, sitting up straighter in his hospital bed. She stood up slowly, clutching the scanner to her chest like a shield. Her purple skin seemed to shimmer under the hospital lights, and Jake could swear he saw tiny sparkles moving across her arms. "I need to explain something," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it is very embarrassing for me." Jake had never seen her look so uncomfortable. This was the same nurse who had calmly handled his worst pain, who had explained complex medical procedures without blinking, who had never shown anything but perfect professional control. "You can tell me anything," he said gently. "I won't judge you." Zara took a deep breath and sat down in the chair next to his bed, but she kept her distance. as if she was afraid to get too close. My people, the Centauri, we have something that happens to us every 7 Earth years, she began, wrapping her arms around herself. It is controlled by the moons of our home planet. Even when we are far away, we still feel their pull. Jake nodded, trying to understand. Like how Earth's moon affects the tides? Yes, but much more intense, much more personal. Her cheeks turned an even deeper shade of purple. We call it the bonding season. Humans might call it something else. The way she said it made Jake's stomach flip. What exactly happens during this bonding season? Zara looked down at her hands. Our bodies change to attract potential partners. We release special scents. Our emotions become very strong, and we feel an overwhelming need to find someone to connect with. Jake felt his face getting hot. You mean like dating? More than dating. Much more intense than dating. Zara stood up quickly and started pacing around the small room. I came to Earth specifically to avoid this. I thought if I was far enough away from Centauri Prime, the moon's influence would be weaker. I was wrong. As she paced, Jake noticed other changes in her appearance. Her ears had become slightly pointed, and there were faint silver markings on her neck that looked like delicate tattoos. Even her hair seemed longer than it had been yesterday. How long does this last? Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. 3 months, Zara said miserably. Maybe for if I'm unlucky. Jake's eyes went wide. 3 months? But I'm supposed to leave the hospital in a few days. Zara stopped pacing and looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. That is part of the problem. My condition seems to be focused on you. What do you mean, focused on me? Before Zara could answer, Jake's tablet on the bedside table started beeping. She rushed over to check it, grateful for the distraction. Your heart rate is elevated, she said, frowning at the screen. And your brain activity is unusual. Jake, are you feeling dizzy? Lightheaded? Now that she mentioned it, Jake did feel strange. The room seemed brighter than usual, colors more vivid, and every time Zara moved, he found it hard to look away. From her, I feel weird, he admitted, like I had too much coffee, but also like I'm floating. Zara's face went pale under her purple skin. Oh no, this is very bad. What's bad? What's happening to me? Centauri pheromones are not supposed to affect humans, she said, her voice rising with panic. I studied this 4 years before coming to Earth. Humans should be completely immune to our biological signals. Jake tried to process this information, but his brain felt like it was wrapped in cotton. Are you saying I'm having some kind of reaction to you? It appears so, but this should be impossible. Zara started pacing again, moving faster now. And all the research, and all the documented cases of Centauri-human interaction. Nothing like this has ever happened. Suddenly, Jake's room door burst open. Dr. Peterson walked in, followed by 2 other doctors Jake didn't recognize. Nurse Zara, we need to talk, Dr. Peterson said sternly. Then he stopped and stared. Good heavens, what has happened to you? Zara stood frozen in the middle of the room, looking like a child caught doing something wrong. Dr. Peterson, I can explain, she began. You certainly will explain. We've had reports of strange smells coming from this room, and 3 other patients on this floor have complained of feeling dizzy and confused. Dr. Peterson looked between Zara and Jake. Patient Jake, how are you feeling? Like I'm on a roller coaster that won't stop, Jake said honestly. One of the other doctors, a woman with gray hair, stepped forward with a scanning device. I'm Dr. Kim from the Alien Biology Department. We need to run some tests. As Dr. Kim scanned both Jake and Zara, her eyebrows kept getting higher and higher. This is unprecedented, she murmured. Nurse Zara, you're showing all the signs of advanced bonding season, but your pheromone output is 3 times higher than normal for your species. And the human patient? Dr. Peterson asked. He's having a full biological response to her pheromones. His brain chemistry has changed completely in the last 24 hours. Dr. Kim looked amazed and worried at the same time. I've never seen anything like this. Jake felt like everyone was talking about him like he wasn't in the room. Excuse me, but what does this mean for me? Am I in danger? Dr. Kim and Dr. Peterson exchanged glances. We don't know, Dr. Peterson said finally. This has never happened before. We're in completely uncharted territory. Zara suddenly spoke up, her voice shaking. I request to be removed from Jake's care. Immediately. I am clearly not fit to be his nurse in my current condition. No, Jake said, surprising everyone, including himself. The thought of Zara leaving made him feel panicked. I mean, she's been taking great care of me. I don't want a new nurse. Dr. Kim frowned. Jake, you may not be thinking clearly right now. The pheromones could be affecting your judgment. But I feel fine, Jake protested. Better than fine, actually. I feel great. That wasn't entirely true. He felt confused and emotional and like his heart might beat out of his chest. But he also felt more alive than he had in years, and the thought of not seeing Zara every day made him feel genuinely sad. We need to monitor both of you closely. Dr. Peterson decided. Zara, you will continue Jake's care, but under strict supervision. Dr. Kim will check on you both every few hours, sir. I don't think that's wise, Zara said. My condition may get worse. I might not be able to maintain professional behavior. As if to prove her point, she accidentally knocked over Jake's water pitcher while gesturing. Water spilled across the floor, and Zara looked mortified. I never make mistakes like this. She whispered, never. Jake wanted to comfort her, but he wasn't sure if that would make things better or worse. Dr. Peterson sighed. We'll take this one day at a time. For now, both of you try to stay calm. Dr. Kim will be researching possible treatments or ways to manage this situation. After the doctors left, Jake and Zara sat in awkward silence. The spilled water reflected the morning light, creating tiny rainbows on the hospital room floor. I'm sorry, Zara said finally. I never wanted to put you in danger. Are we in danger? Jake asked. Zara looked at him with those deep purple eyes, and Jake felt his heart skip a beat. I honestly don't know, she said. No one knows. We're writing the first chapter of a story that's never been told before. Jake couldn't help but smile a little. Well, at least it won't be boring, despite everything. Zara smiled back, and for just a moment, the chaos didn't seem so scary after all. Over the next 3 days, Jake watched Zara slowly lose control of everything that had made her such a good nurse. It started small. She would forget which medication she had already given him, or she would check his temperature twice in the same hour because she couldn't remember doing it the first time. But then things got weird. Jake woke up one morning to find all his medical supplies arranged in perfect circles. On his bedside table, the bandages formed one circle, the medicine bottles another, and his water cups a third. They were so perfectly spaced that they looked like some kind of art project. Zara. He called when she came in for his morning checkup. Did you do this? She looked at the circles, and her face turned bright purple with embarrassment. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. It just felt necessary. It's actually kind of beautiful. Jake said, trying to make her feel better. It's not professional. She said firmly, quickly mixing up the circles. Nurses don't rearrange patient belongings into decorative patterns. But the next morning, she did it again. This time, she had arranged his books by size and color, and somehow made his bed sheets into perfect geometric folds that looked like origami. Jake was starting to realize that whatever was happening to Zara was getting stronger, not weaker. The food situation was another problem entirely. Zara had always brought him interesting fruits from the alien markets, but now she was showing up with elaborate meals that smelled incredible and made his mouth water. Just looking at them. What is this? Jake asked, staring at a plate that held what looked like golden noodles topped with purple flowers and shimmering green sauce. Traditional Centauri healing soup, Zara said, but she couldn't meet his eyes. It will help your bones grow stronger. Jake took a bite and immediately felt warmth spread through his entire body. It was the most delicious thing he had ever tasted, and it made him feel like he could run a marathon. This is amazing. But Zara, this must have taken hours to make. I couldn't sleep anyway. She mumbled. I kept thinking about what you might like to eat. After she left, Jake realized she had been spending her off-duty hours cooking for him. That definitely wasn't normal nurse behavior. Dr. Kim came by later that afternoon to check on them both. "Jake, your recovery rate has increased by 300%, she said, looking at her scanner with amazement. "Whatever she's feeding you is working incredibly well. Is that good or bad? We don't know yet. Your body is changing in ways we've never seen before. You're stronger, your reflexes are faster, and your brain activity is off the charts." Dr. Kim made notes on her tablet. "How do you feel?" "Great, actually. Better than I've felt in years." It was true. Jake felt like he had superpowers. Colors seemed brighter, sounds were clearer, and he had more energy than he knew what to do with. And emotionally, any changes there? Jake thought about it. "I feel more connected to things. Like everything matters more than it used to." Dr. Kim nodded thoughtfully. "We think Zara's pheromones are triggering evolutionary changes in your brain chemistry. It's fascinating from a scientific perspective, but we still don't know if it's safe long-term." That evening, things took a turn that Jake definitely wasn't prepared for. He was watching TV when Zara came in for his evening medication, but instead of just giving him his pills and leaving, she started moving around his room in slow, flowing motions. At first, Jake thought she was just restless, but then he realized her movements were following a pattern. She was dancing. "Zara, what are you doing?" She stopped mid-spin, looking mortified. "I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me." But she couldn't seem to stop herself. Her arms moved in graceful waves, and her feet traced complex patterns on the floor. It was beautiful, like watching water flow or wind move through trees. Then something even more surprising happened. Thin, ribbon-like appendages emerged from her back, moving in harmony with her arms. They were translucent and caught the light like soap bubbles. Jake had never seen anything like it. "Zara, you have wings." "They're not wings," she said, still dancing despite her obvious embarrassment. "They're sensory organs. Most humans never see them because we only extend them during special occasions." The dance was mesmerizing, but Zara was clearly distressed by her inability to control it. As she spun near his medical equipment, one of her appendages knocked over his IV stand with a loud crash. "Oh no." She immediately retracted the appendages and rushed to fix the mess. But she was shaking so badly that she only made things worse. Jake tried to get out of bed to help her, but his legs were still healing. "Zara, it's okay. Accidents happen." "Not to me," she said, tears forming in her purple eyes. "I have never made mistakes like this. I was the top student in my medical class. I have never been anything but professional." She looked so upset that Jake wanted to hug her, but he knew that would probably make things worse. That's when Dr. Peterson walked in and nearly fainted. "What on earth happened in here?" he asked, staring at the overturned equipment and Zara's glowing purple appearance. "Medical equipment malfunction," Jake said quickly, trying to cover for her. But Dr. Peterson wasn't fooled. "Nurse Zara, step outside with me." Now, Jake could hear them talking in the hallway, though he couldn't make out the words. When they came back, Dr. Peterson looked very serious. "Jake, I'm afraid we have a problem. The hospital administration has been getting complaints about strange sounds and smells coming from this wing, and our insurance company is asking questions about some very unusual medical readings." "What kind of questions?" "The kind that might result in your coverage being dropped if we can't explain what's happening here." Dr. Peterson looked tired. "And Zara, I'm getting pressure to transfer you to a different department." "No," Jake said, surprising himself with how strongly he reacted. "She's the best nurse I've ever had. You can't transfer her because of some paperwork problems." "Jake, it's not just paperwork. Look around you." Dr. Peterson gestured at the room, which Jake suddenly realized looked nothing like a normal hospital room anymore. The medical supplies were arranged in intricate patterns. Exotic flowers had appeared on his windowsill. His sheets were folded into complex geometric shapes, and there was a faint, sweet scent in the air that made everything feel dreamlike. "This room looks like a shrine, not a medical facility," Dr. Peterson continued. "And the other patients are complaining that they feel strange when they walk past your door." Jake looked at Zara, who was staring at the floor like she wanted to disappear. What if we could figure out a solution? Jake asked. Something that would help Zara control what's happening to her. Dr. Peterson shook his head. Jake, we're not even sure what is happening to her. This is completely unprecedented, and frankly, we're worried about you too. Your brain scans show changes that we've never seen in a human before. But I feel fine. Better than fine. That's what worries us, Dr. Peterson said. You should be concerned about these changes, but instead you seem almost euphoric about them. That's not a normal human response to medical uncertainty. Jake wanted to argue, but he realized Dr. Peterson was right. A few weeks ago, he would have been terrified by what was happening. Now, he felt like he was living in the most interesting story of his life. We're going to give you both one more week, Dr. Peterson decided. If we can't find a way to manage this situation by then, we'll have to make some difficult decisions. After he left, Jake and Zara sat in silence. The weight of their situation was finally starting to sink in. I'm ruining your life, Zara said quietly. No, you're not, Jake replied. You're making it complicated, but you're not ruining it. Zara looked at him with those deep purple eyes. You don't understand. If I can't control this, I could lose my career, and you could lose your health insurance. All because my biology decided to go crazy at the worst possible time. Jake thought about that. A week ago, the most exciting thing in his life had been getting a new video game. Now he was part of some kind of unprecedented medical mystery that could change everything he thought he knew about aliens and humans. Maybe, he said slowly, we need to stop trying to fight this and start trying to understand it. What do you mean? I mean, what if there's a reason this is happening? What if instead of seeing it as a problem, we tried to see it as, I don't know, an opportunity? Zara tilted her head. Considering this, an opportunity for what? Jake grinned. For the adventure of a lifetime. Jake spent the entire night researching everything he could find about Centauri culture on his tablet. By morning, his eyes were red and tired, but he had learned some fascinating things about Zara's people. The Centauri didn't just have a mating season, they had something called the Great Bonding, which happened when their 3 moons aligned in a specific pattern. During this time, their entire society focused on creating connections, not just romantic ones, but bonds of friendship, family, and community. Zara, he said when she came in with his breakfast. I think I understand what's happening to you better now. She set down a tray of the most beautiful food he had ever seen, fruits that sparkled like jewels, and bread that smelled like cinnamon and starlight. But her hands were shaking worse than ever. I brought you traditional bonding foods, she said, then immediately looked embarrassed. I mean, healing foods for your recovery. Jake smiled gently. It's okay to call them bonding foods. I read about them last night. Zara's eyes went wide. You researched my culture. I wanted to help you, and I found something interesting. Jake pulled up an article on his tablet. According to this, the great bonding isn't just about finding a romantic partner. It's about creating deep connections with your chosen community. That's true, Zara said, sitting down carefully in the chair next to his bed. But Jake, I left Centauri Prime specifically to avoid all of that. I didn't want the pressure of bonding season. I wanted to focus on my career. But what if there's a way to satisfy your biological needs without giving up your career? Jake asked, what if we could create the community connections your body is craving? Zara looked skeptical. How will we do that? We're in a human hospital. On Earth, there are no other Centauri here. Maybe we don't need other Centauri. Maybe we just need people who care about you. Before Zara could respond, Dr. Kim burst into the room looking excited. I just got off a video call with the Centauri Embassy on Mars, she announced. They've agreed to help us understand what's happening here. What did they say? Zara asked eagerly. Well, the good news is that you're not sick or broken. What you're experiencing is completely natural for your species. Dr. Kim sat down and pulled out her tablet. The bad news is that the nearest Centauri cultural expert is 3 star systems away. Jake felt his heart sink. So there's nothing we can do. Actually, there might be. The ambassador mentioned something called a substitute bonding ceremony. It's never been tried with humans before, but the theory is sound. Zara leaned forward. What kind of ceremony? Essentially, you would formally declare a chosen family here on Earth. People who would commit to supporting you and caring about your well-being. The emotional bonds formed during the ceremony should satisfy your biological needs. Jake felt a spark of hope. That sounds perfect, Zara. We could do that. But Zara looked worried. Jake, you don't understand what you're offering. A Centauri. Bonding ceremony creates lifelong connections. It's not something you can undo. I don't want to undo it, Jake said simply. You've been the best friend I've had in years. I'd be honored to be part of your chosen family. Dr. Kim smiled. Actually, Jake, you wouldn't be the only one. I've been talking to the hospital staff, and several people have volunteered to participate. Really? Zara looked amazed. Really? Dr. Peterson said you're the most dedicated nurse he's ever worked with. And Amy from the night shift said you helped her study for her nursing exam. And do you remember Tony from maintenance? Zara nodded. He was sad because his daughter moved to Jupiter for work. You spent your lunch breaks listening to him talk about missing her. He said it meant the world to him. Dr. Kim made notes on her tablet. Zara, you've touched more lives here than you realize. Over the next days, they planned the ceremony. It was like planning a wedding, but instead of joining two people, they were creating a network of friendship and support. The hospital's recreation room was transformed into something magical. Jake had never seen anything like it. Dr. Kim had managed to get special lighting that mimicked the triple moonlight of Centauri Prime. Amy and the other nurses had brought flowers and crystals. That created rainbow patterns on the walls. But the most amazing part was seeing how many people came, not just hospital staff, but patients Zara had cared for months ago who had heard about the ceremony and wanted to help. Even some of Jake's online gaming friends joined through video chat. I can't believe all these people came for me, Zara whispered to Jake as they prepared to start the ceremony. You've helped all of us in some way. Jake replied, this is just us helping you back. The ceremony itself was beautiful but strange. Based on the Centauri traditions that Dr. Kim had researched, everyone formed a circle around Zara. One by one, they made promises to support her, care about her happiness, and consider her part of their chosen family. When it was Jake's turn, he looked into Zara's purple eyes and felt his heart skip a beat. Zara, I promise to be your friend through good times and bad times. I promise to listen when you need to talk and to make you laugh when you're sad. I promise that no matter where life takes us, you'll always have a place in my chosen family. As each person made their promise, something amazing happened. The silver markings on Zara's neck began to glow softly, and her skin gradually shifted from the intense purple back to her normal blue tint. The sweet, overwhelming scent that had been following her around began to fade to something pleasant and gentle. But the most remarkable change was in Zara herself. The nervous energy that had been making her clumsy and distracted seemed to drain away. Her shoulders relaxed, and for the first time in weeks, she looked peaceful. It's working, Dr. Kim whispered in amazement. Her biological markers are stabilizing. By the end of the ceremony, Zara looked like herself again, still beautiful and alien, but calm and in control. How do you feel? Jake asked. Balanced, Zara said, smiling widely. For the first time since this started, I feel like myself again. Dr. Peterson, who had been watching from the doorway, stepped forward. Zara, your vital signs are completely normal. Whatever we just did, it worked. Does this mean I can keep my job? Zara asked hopefully. Not only can you keep your job, but I'd like you to head up our new interspecies medical protocol department. What we learned here could help other alien medical professionals who face similar challenges. Jake felt a mix of happiness and sadness. Zara was better, which was wonderful. But now that she was back to normal, would she still want to be friends with a regular human like him? As if reading his thoughts, Zara turned to him with a warm smile. Jake, the ceremony created real bonds. I meant every word of my promises to you. What does that mean exactly? Jake asked. It means, Zara said, extending her hand to help him out of his wheelchair. "That you're stuck with me as a friend for life. Whether you like it or not," Jake grinned and took her hand. "I think I can live with that." As they left the recreation room together, Jake realized that his boring life as a computer programmer was officially over. He had no idea what adventures lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain: with Zara as his friend, life was never going to be ordinary again. 6 months later, Jake stood in front of the mirror in his apartment, trying to decide if his shirt looked okay for a first date. It felt strange to be nervous about dating Zara, considering everything they had been through together. After the bonding ceremony, their relationship had changed in ways Jake never expected. The artificial effects of Zara's pheromones had completely disappeared, but the friendship they had built was stronger than ever. Zara had kept her promise to be part of his chosen family. She came over every weekend to cook alien foods and watch human movies, trying to understand why people enjoyed stories with sad endings. Jake had started volunteering at the hospital's new interspecies support group, helping other humans who were adjusting to alien friends or co-workers. But somewhere along the way, their friendship had started to feel like something more. It began with small things. The way Zara's eyes lit up when she saw him. How Jake found excuses to visit her new office just to hear her laugh. The comfortable silences they shared that felt more intimate than any conversation. 3 weeks ago, during one of their movie nights, Jake had finally worked up the courage to ask the question that had been on his mind for months. "Zara, now that your biology is back to normal, do you think there could ever be something between us that's not influenced by alien pheromones?" Zara had paused the movie and looked at him with those deep purple eyes that had first captured his attention. "Jake, I've been wondering the same thing. Would you like to find out?" Which led to tonight, their first official date. Jake's doorbell chimed, and he opened it to find Zara standing there with a small blue flower in her silver hair. She was wearing a simple human-style dress, but somehow she still looked like she had stepped out of a fairy tale. "You look beautiful," Jake said, meaning every word. "You look nervous," Zara replied with a smile. "Are you having second thoughts about dating an alien?" "Never," Jake said, grabbing his jacket. "I'm just nervous about dating someone way smarter than me who could probably perform surgery if I choke on my dinner." Zara laughed, and the sound made Jake's heart skip a beat just like it had 6 months ago. They had chosen to go to the new Intergalactic Cafe downtown, a restaurant that served food from 12 different planets. It had opened as part of Earth's growing acceptance of alien culture, and Jake thought it would be the perfect place for their first real date. "I still can't believe how much the city has changed," Jake said as they walked past a group of alien street musicians, playing what sounded like crystalline wind chimes mixed with jazz. "Change is good," Zara said, slipping her arm through his. "6 months ago, I was afraid I would never fit in anywhere. Now I have a job I love, friends who care about me, and Jake prompted when she trailed off. "And maybe something even better than friendship with a very special human." The restaurant was buzzing with activity. Humans and aliens sat together at tables, sharing meals and stories. Jake recognized several species from his volunteer work at the hospital: tall, elegant beings from the Andromeda sector, small furry creatures from the outer rim planets, and even a few crystalline entities that communicated through light patterns. Dr. Kim was right, Jake said as they were seated at a table with a perfect view of the city lights. "This really is becoming a multi-species society, and we helped make it happen." Zara said proudly, "Dr. Peterson told me that 5 more hospitals have started interspecies medical protocol programs based on what we learned." They ordered food. Jake chose something called Earth-style comfort noodles with Martian mushrooms, while Zara selected traditional Centauri healing soup with human vegetables. As they waited for their meals, they talked about their work, their friends, and their plans for the future. "I got accepted into the advanced xenobiology program at the university," Zara mentioned casually while sharing an appetizer that tasted like cinnamon-flavored starlight. Jake nearly choked on his drink. "That's incredible, Zara. That's one of the most prestigious programs in the galaxy." "I know, but I'm not sure if I should accept." "Why not?" "It's your dream program," Zara looked down at her hands. Because it's on Centauri Prime, I would have to leave Earth for 3 years. Jake felt his heart sink, but he tried to keep his voice steady. Zara, you have to go. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. But what about us? What about the support group? What about my chosen family here? Jake reached across the table and took her hand. Your chosen family will still be here when you get back. And as for us, he paused, trying to find the right words. Zara, if what we have is real, it will survive 3 years and for light years? Zara's eyes filled with tears. You would wait for me? I would wait for you, Jake said without hesitation. But more than that, I would be proud of you. You came to Earth to build a career, and now you have the chance to become one of the leading experts in your field. I could never ask. You two, give that up. Their food arrived, but neither of them seemed very interested in eating anymore. There's another option, Zara said quietly. The program allows for research assistants. Human research assistants. Jake's brain took a moment to process what she was suggesting. Are you asking me to come with you to Centauri Prime? I'm asking if you would consider it. You're already doing amazing work with interspecies relations, and your programming skills would be valuable for the research projects. Jake stared at her. 6 months ago, his biggest concern had been paying rent on his tiny apartment. Now he was being offered the chance to travel to another star system with the most incredible woman he had ever met. Zara, I would follow you to the edge of the galaxy. But are you sure you want me there? This is your dream, your career. I don't want to be a distraction, Jake. You've never been a distraction. You've been my inspiration. Zara squeezed his hand. You showed me that home isn't a place. It's the people who care about you. Whether we're on Earth or Centauri Prime, if we're together, we're home. Jake felt tears pricking his eyes. When do we leave? We. Zara smiled brighter than he had ever seen her smile before. We, Jake confirmed. Though I should probably warn you, I get motion sickness on long space flights. I'm a trained medical professional, Zara said with a grin. I think I can handle one queasy human. They spent the rest of dinner making plans. Jake would need to apply for an interstellar work visa, and they would both need to undergo the physical and psychological preparations for long-distance space travel. It would take months to arrange everything, but they had timed out as they walked home under the stars. Jake marveled at how much his life had changed. A year ago, he never could have imagined that he would fall in love with an alien nurse, help create new medical protocols, or plan to travel to another planet. Jake, Zara said as they reached his apartment building, I have something to confess. What's that? I think I started falling for you before my biology went crazy. Even when I was trying to maintain professional boundaries. There was something about you that drew me in. Jake smiled. You want to know a secret? I felt the same way. I kept telling myself it was just because you were exotic and different. But really it was because you were kind and smart, and you actually listened when I talked. So the pheromones didn't create our connection, Zara said thoughtfully. They just forced us to acknowledge what was already there. Maybe that's what bonding season is really about, Jake suggested. Not creating artificial attractions, but helping people recognize the real connections they've been too scared to admit. Zara stood on her tiptoes and kissed him gently. It was their first kiss. Soft and sweet and completely free of alien biology or chemical influences. It was just two people who had found something special in each other. I love you, Jake. She whispered against his lips. I love you too, Zara. Purple skin, silver hair. Mysterious alien biology and all. As Jake watched Zara walk back to her own apartment, he looked up at the stars and smiled. Somewhere out there was Centauri Prime, with its 3 moons and purple skies. Soon, he would see it for himself. His boring life as a computer programmer was definitely over, but his exciting life as an intergalactic explorer with the woman of his dreams was just beginning, and he couldn't wait to see what adventures awaited them among the stars.